Welcome to the holiday edition of This Old Hoopty. If you're new to the channel, I'm normally in my garage trying to restore an old lowrider. But I also like taking care of things around the house, like DIY stuff, Christmas lights, building things for the family, etc. Kind of like this couch. Anyways, back to the point. In today's video, we're going to be working on that tree over there. We're going to get those lights up. We're going to custom make that star by tearing apart the original broken one that was eaten by rats. Not that complex of a thing to do. And we are going to take a little dive into WLED and ESP32 development boards. Here's a quick look at the parts used. I have an old computer power supply cable that I cut the end off, connected it to a 5-volt 60 amp power supply. We have some wires being fed up into the back of the tree here. I'm using two ESP32s connected to my Wi-Fi network. I left this out here so you guys can see it. It'll be tucked back into the tree like that one over there when I'm done. So that one that I just showed you is controlling the star. This way the star can be on a separate pattern from the tree. As you see, they're doing two different things. This is a pretty easy project as far as things go. I'll leave everything linked in the description below, what I used to get this set up. It's basically just lights, the ESP32, some wires, free software called WLED, and I am going to do a screen share so you guys can see how I flash the device and the quick and dirty settings to get the tree and star, or just whatever you're connecting these lights to look like that. Let's get started. All right, we're going to permanently mount this ESP32 by soldering the back of the board here. All right, not the prettiest, but it'll do. Now we're going to jump some wires for, let's see here, for power over here, for data over here, and for ground to over there. There we go. Let's jack it in and see if we got power. There we go. See the red light right there? Okay, so I've got WLED installed on my cell phone. We've got the ESP32 connected to my wireless network coming from my phone. I basically just set it up as a hotspot, and we've got our LEDs turned on. So first we should be able to turn it on and off. Button here. As you can see, they're off, and now they're on. If we click into the program, we should be able to select any color. There's green. I'll quickly button this back up inside here. This will be a nice, neat little box just tucked up in the tree, connected to the wires. Put our back on. Now for my use case, this chip doesn't get hot at all. I've ran it with 8 of these strands and left it plugged in overnight. Doesn't get hot to the touch at all. Now, this is your little control box. I'm going to throw some hot glue in here so none of these rub against the plastic, and this will just sit inside the tree. Pretty easy to hide, and it does all the heavy lifting. All right, now you could easily use butt connectors to connect these, but I'm going to use some heat shrink, and I'm going to solder my runs. I'm going to do a 3-foot cable going to the beginning run. This box here is going to connect here at the beginning as well. Let me get these tinned. All right, now we'll run our heat shrink over like so. There we go. Now we have our first run. Now that we have this heat shrink and soldered, let's take the other end and get it ready for the power supply. Get a ferrule on each one of these. Okay, now we've got our power in. All right, we've got our 5-volt power supply connected directly to our first run of the wire here of the WS2811s. We're going to power our little controller here. There we go. That's how we know it's working. One solid LED. That's the default setting on the WS LED. So you can see they're all lit. So now we should be able to connect the whole strand. So let's get these under the tree. Let's get this in the tree and around the tree. Okay, it's nice and bright. We have 1,000 WS2811 pixels on this tree from top to bottom. As you can see, it's very bright in here. I have all the lights on, and you can see it's extremely bright. I'll show you the settings that I used both in this video and in the description below. Normally, I would just take this, slap it up on top, and call it a day. Every year I try and change the color and style of the tree, so I've collected quite a bit over the many years that I've been doing this. We're going for a white, blue, silver Christmas look this year. Since I can't just slap this up on top because rats ate it, I am going to take it all apart, clean it, and I am going to stuff a bunch of either pixels, or I'll take the strips and cut them up and make something cool inside of this, and then shove it on top and add it as an extra segment to the tree. Let's get that started, and then I will get it up top. But first, let me show you the process of what I'm doing to this. Okay, I took apart the silver star, which I like. Wasn't gonna throw it out. All the garbage the rats chewed on and whatnot are over here. I'm going to place some new WS2811 LEDs in a pattern. I'm gonna go around the outside and then once around the inside and get myself a little wire coming out the back. Cover it up, you won't be able to see them. To mount them, we're just gonna use some hot glue. Let me get you on the tripod. Let's get these in place. Now, I probably could have zip tied each one of these to the little posts, but then I don't have any silver zip ties, so the black would have shown along the back, whereas the glue is not really showing much behind the back. So that's why I chose the glue over the zip ties. But the zip ties definitely would have gone much faster. So we're just gonna line them up like that across the center, and that'll be kind of cool. All right, that'll do. Now I just gotta wire it up. And now I'm gonna pop the screen record up here so you guys can see what I'm doing to flash this device. The first thing we need is to download a few items. We're gonna need the ESP Home Flasher tool, which you can see here, and the WLED bin files. Once you have the software, we can get that loaded onto the hardware. In this case, it's an ESP32 development board from Key that I got from Amazon. The links for both the software and the hardware will be in the description. Once it's connected, you'll see a red light show up on the ESP32. You can see that in the picture here. Now on the screen here, you can see the ESP Home Flasher software running. You're going to use the serial port line drop down to select your ESP32. It will be listed as a COM port like this. If it doesn't show up, hit the gray and red swirling arrows to the right to refresh that line. Once your port is listed, you're going to need to point the firmware line to where your downloaded WLED bin file is located. In my case, I stuffed everything right in a Christmas lights folder, and it's right here, the bin file. Now we're ready to flash the device with WLED. I'm going to hold down the boot button on the ESP32 for it to be flashed. You'll see that in the picture here. Let me hold this down. And then I'm going to click flash. Once it starts, you can let go of the button. it'll keep going on its own, and you'll see in the console window or the text window everything that's happening. Once this is done, your ESP32 will be flashed with WLED, and we'll wait for this to finish, and then we will open up a browser window and configure it. Just about there. All right, we're all set. So once you see this, your device has been flashed. So let's close this down, open up a browser window, and set up the device. Now that the device is flashed, we need to connect to the ESP32 access point named WLED-AP. To do that, we're going to disconnect from our home network and connect to the WLED access point as shown in the picture below. Once connected, type the IP 4.3.2.1 into your browser like you see here. We can now set up our own wireless network using the Wi-Fi settings button. So you click that. To configure the Wi-Fi setup page, you're going to do the following. You're going to need your SSID. In my case, it's going to be WSEC1. You're going to need your network password. If you want to give the devices a static IP, you're going to fill this stuff out here. If not, DHCP is more than likely set up on you guys' network, so just leave that part alone. The DNS address here, I changed mine to WLED2 because I already have a WLED1, so I can type in WLED2.local if I want to access this device on a computer, tablet, desktop, etc., laptop, whatever. The access point SSID to connect back to this device, I changed this to WLED star because the other one I have is WLED tree. That way I can differentiate between them. You're going to want to put a password. That way it's not open and your neighbors can't connect to your device. If you have custom channels set, you can set the channel here. Other than that, you really don't need to touch anything. You're just going to hit save and connect, and you're good to go. Once you've done that, you're going to need to be reconnected to your existing wireless network so you can connect to this device, which will now be sitting on it. And we're going to use WLED in our browser again. So give me 1 second. We'll bring that up. Okay, so once you've reconnected everything to your Wi-Fi network at home, office, wherever you're at, and you have your ESP32 here connected to the network as well, you should be able to bring up whatever you named your access point. Let's go in and change some of the configs, which I had to do anyways. We're going to go to LED preferences, and you'll see here for starters, I've already changed this. It starts off default at GPIO 16, and I like to use GPIO 2, and that is the 5th pin here on the left-hand side. So you guys can see that here. I use GPIO 2. So that's for starters. We changed that, and then I hit save, and that gave me control of the lights. I'm not using GRB lights, I'm using RGB lights. So once I've changed that, we can save it. We'll go to the color wheel, and now my color should be accurate. There we go. Okay. Now, we still need to change a couple more things. I like to remove the brightness limiter, make it nice and bright. So we're going to get rid of that. In my case, I'm only using 20 LEDs, so in my sequence, I want it to have 20. This way, if I run any patterns, it knows where 1 and 20 is, so it can do everything in between. I happen to be using WS2811s. If you are not, select whatever you are using. Leave that in the settings here. You really don't need to change much else in here for a simple setup. So we're going to hit save. We're going to go back to our settings screen here. We can pick out whatever colors we want. Here's some purple, and it's pretty accurate. Blue, we'll go towards the white, and as you can see, it's nice and bright. Orange, green, see if we can get a red. We got a nice red. All right, so let's go on to red. Since it's Christmas, or about to be Christmas, let's do candy cane. That'll be a pretty cool pattern. I mean, there's so many options in here. You could do breathe, let the thing just go on and off. As you can see, whatever you change it, it's instant. So many different patterns. And here you can see why I ran them around the perimeter and then went into the inside. This gives you a good idea of why I laid them out that way. The fire one is pretty cool. Let's take a look at that. I think it's Fire 2012 or Fire Flicker. fireworks. I don't know if there's enough LEDs. Not really. Let's try this one. That's all right. Fireworks starburst. Oh, that's not bad. But for me, I really want something Christmassy, so it's going to end up something like candy cane, like this, or a chase pattern. You can see there's just tons and tons and tons of patterns. So you pick the one that you like and roll with it. So now that you see the basics of how this works, I mean, if you just wanted a solid color, you could just do that too. Get rid of the effect, go to solid, throw on whatever color you want. Let's say you want red. There we go, or pink. There's more of an orange right there. You want blue, whatever. It's instant. So now that we've got this set up, let's finish up our wiring over here, get this cleaned up, get this into a box, get this reassembled, and I can get it up onto the tree and show you that. So give me a second to shut all this stuff down. All right, we're back in the garage. I didn't have any more of the small project boxes that I had found for the tree, so I did have some of these that I also got on Amazon. They have a nice little waterproof gasket, which you have to insert, and then you just cut it to length. This way you get a good seal. Now these I really had purchased to go outside along my garage here. There's going to be one of these for each of the permanent Christmas light segments. I'm going to have a couple ESP32s outside, and that's what these are for, but I'm going to use that for this because I can just tuck this in the center of the tree, punch the wires out one end using some of these same wires, and I'll connect it to the existing power supply that's already under the tree, which you guys have seen. So let me get this soldered onto another board that'll fit in here. We'll probably use some screw terminals for that. So let's get that set up, and then we will solder it into here. This way this and this will permanently be connected, and I can disconnect this from the wire coming out of it that goes to the power supply. So let me get the soldering iron heated up. Let's get this done real quick. All right, that's gonna do. Now let's get everything wired up. Pin here, this is our power pin, this is our data pin, and that's our ground pin. We're just gonna bridge this over like that. Let's get these two together here. Okay, we got everything jumped on the back. It'll give it something to sit on. And now we've got our screw terminals.
We can now button this up. We'll run the wires right out the back. There we go. We are all set.
Just one little extra layer. Let's get all this in there. Nice and clean. And we can button this up. We gotta go here first. There we go. All right, so go right behind the tree. And we got ourselves a cool new star. course, I've got my little helper Maya here with me.
Hi.
What do you think of the tree, babe?
Amazing.
All right. Hope everyone enjoyed the video. Have a happy holidays. All right, with the star up and the tree done, now I can move on to the exterior lights and hopefully get this done so I can get back to the truck. I know you guys want to see the truck completed as far as painting goes and get on to the next thing. I may have acquired an LS engine, so more on that in another video. But as far as the tree goes, I think the tree came out fantastic. The star, as you can see up there, came out perfect. The rats ate it and it died the way it originally was, so we took it apart, added 20 RGB ws2811s, put it on its own ESP32, and as you saw in this video, I gave you the quick tutorial on how to program that and get it set up, flashing the device. So that's going to do it. You guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next one.